You see that right there? That there is called a project. And believe you me, it is one. Here's the rear fender. Got the seat, got the front fender, got the front cover. All the plastic is in really good shape. This is a 1987 Yamaha Moto 4 350. And she's in a few pieces right now. The seller said it needs a new top end. Well, of course it does, but then it's a 37-year-old quad, so it needs a little bit more than that before I can say it's good enough to go. The speedometer works. I tried it out. I got both front and back end up on jack stands. And if I spin the rear tires, you can see it actually moves. Yeah, it's got 7,971 miles on it. Pretty good hard riding for 37 years. I'm replacing the front brake cable system. See that? That's the box that splits off into both wheels. So I've got new cables of that. This one's for the front, for the rear brake, goes to the left handlebar grip down to the rear brake. And then this is the front brake wide junction type of cable system. Front tires are pretty well shot. The one on the left, as soon as you put some air into it, it was blowing out. The one on the right stayed up for maybe half a day, and then the next day it came in and it was falling down again. This one seems to be losing air a lot faster than this one. This one's still, yeah, they're pretty well dry cracked and everything. These I should probably be able to run at least for testing purposes, but those, no, not really. I had to free up, let's see. Yeah, I had to do quite a bit of work on the shifter. There's a shifter. It's the one that goes from high to low to reverse. Clean it up. It was moving, but I couldn't get it to move while it was on the machine. So I took it apart. I was missing screws and washers here, so I just added some that I found that fit. Inside of here, you take this cap off, and inside of here is a spring and where it was supposed to have a ball detent. And I found some steel ball bearings, and I got one that fit in here perfectly. Now it's really nice. And once because the button, obviously you squeeze in the button and then it'll move, but without the ball bearing, there would be a smooth, there's no, tactile feeling of changing gears or anything. But with that, you can feel it pop, 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 pop back and forth. This hole is where this one cable goes. This is what goes into it. This basically, let's see if we can focus on it. Keeps getting in the background. Anyway, this little plunger here goes up inside the hole on the shifter and makes you have to push the rear brake pedal down in order to disengage this so you can change gear. So I figured that part out. That cable, and this is the main shifter that actually gets controlled by that. It gets controlled by that lever back there, shifter lever setup, and it attaches right there on this. Now, earlier when I still had it on earlier in the week, I just picked this up Thursday last week. Early in the week, I found out pretty much every cable on here was frozen solid, rusted up. I didn't want to move, and that's why I ended up going to replace these two that come up from up here and come down back here. And the foot pedal was absolutely seized up. You could push it down and get stuck. You had to pull it back up. Finally, I got that off. There's a circlip here. This is missing a washer. It's supposed to have a washer here. I found something to work, so that's pretty good. Pretty much everything's obsolete now. This poor spring just couldn't do anything. I had to heat this up and lube it, heat it up and lube it, I don't know how many times. Finally, I knocked the whole thing off. I used emery cloth on the rod there, and I used a steel wire rounded brush to clean this up. And I put some grease in it, and now this thing is completely free to go. I just have to get everything hooked back up on it. Let's see what else. Well, in order to get a screwdriver on this really good, I had to unscrew the oil cooling I had to unscrew the oil cooling radiator here so I can get in there. So that's just a stud and pretty much comes through this little grommet here. And these two screws, no, these two screws are what held that on. These two bolts right here are what held this up against here, down here on those pieces there. So that was not a problem. It does need a battery, so I haven't been able to test any electrical yet or anything. The brakes, mechanically, like by hand moving the brakes, they seem to work pretty good. Like I said, it was just pretty much the cables that were frozen up and wouldn't allow anything to work. The rear brake. See if I can simulate this moving. There, see. Stops around a dime when you pull on it. This is, being a 1987, it does not have the temperature light, just the neutral and the reverse. It's missing the tachometer knob where you can roll it back, because right now it's on 302.4 miles. I don't know when that was reset. Of course, I don't know how long the seller had it, but everything else seems to be functional. I am going to have to do something. Maybe the bushings or something are messed up or worn out down here on each end of this, because when you grab this, you can get too much play in it. I don't think that's normal, because I come over here to this one and it moves, but not quite as badly. So I'm going to look into that. I'm trying to get that locked in. The battery box is pretty much messy, very messy. I've already got that off. See, this is the plastic end of it. That's held on by a screw there. Slides into this, which is the main part of the box. Pretty rusty. I wanted to clean that up pretty good. That's held on here, here. That's the one that holds on the plastic side of it. And this part, this is a lot more mangled up than it is right now. Right now, when I got it, it's a little more straight. I'm going to have to do some welding here and there because it's loose. But this is where the CDI mounts on, so I got to have that nice and solid. I do have the CDI underneath the carburetor, of course. There's a carb. That's a CDI. This sucker's supposed to mount up. See, mount up on those holes, which I'll have to do some modification to get that to work again. All that plugs in. There's the old piston and rings and the wrist pin. One of the clips, the other clip flew over here somewhere. I don't know where it's at. But I'm getting a whole new set of that stuff. Here's the head. The bore looks really good already still for its age, so I'm going to hone that, because obviously it is steel. See? If that was nickel steel, you couldn't do it. Here's the, that's a cylinder, here's the head. Still looks pretty good. The problem I had with this was one of the studs that holds the exhaust on, whoops, one of the studs that held the exhaust on was broken off, and it was in here, so I had to keep working that until I get that out, and I ordered a new one of those and a new nut for it, because this is the rest of it here, which just broke right off. But here's the nut for the other side, which that one's fine, and to clean that up, pretty much all this hardware here, and some of the hardware I've got on it already, I had it dipped in the Evapco rust, which that stuff's been doing a really good job on everything. I'm starting to find some nuts I can use to put the new one on when it comes in. And of course, here's the old exhaust gasket, which I'm getting a new one of that. I'm getting a whole gasket. Got a whole gasket and O-ring kit coming in, which should take care of that. And the new O-rings for the valve covers. I'm getting a new set of rockers, and I'm getting a new set of the rocker rods there, or whatever they're called. But I might just try to use these over. The other ones are coated. I don't know how well that's going to work. But I mean, they all come together in the same kit. And there's the springs, there's the valves. There's the, yeah, I'm getting a new cam also. The old cam, where'd the old cam go? It's probably right in front, there it is. Did not like the way this lobe looked right here, if you can see that. A little bit asymmetrical. The other one wasn't as bad, but you know, you can't really fix them like that. You can kind of see a little bit starting on that one too. So I'm getting a new one of those. That bearing is what goes on here, or on this side I mean. This side gets a needle bearing, and that is still inside here, down there on the bottom. So I should be able to use those. I feel pretty good. Yeah, so the carburetor I haven't even opened up yet. I was waiting to get along, you know, a certain way on that to get to that point. It was completely missing the choke cable system. So this would be the side where it goes into the carb, and then that hole. That hole right there is where the lever end of it goes in, or comes out from. And you can't find those for squat, so I'm just going to get, for now, just get kind of the plunger type replacement for it. And hopefully that'll be okay. Rather get the right one, but you know, it's like they make all these aftermarket cables and stuff, but they won't make an aftermarket one of those. You know, and that's kind of an important thing to start with sometimes. So whatever. Let's see what else is going on here. And obviously, I think those are probably the original tires in the front, but these are obviously aftermarkets. And they are dry cracked, but they do hold air better than those, so I can at least try to use those for a little bit while I'm testing it out. I thought it was really crazy how deep these rear boxes are. Go back in there pretty far. That's where where the tail light goes in back here on that one. Whoops. That might be the reason why it's not closing. Try to do one-handed. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So that's the regulator rectifier. Right here is where the battery box attaches, and then the CDI. The CDI would run to some of these connections here. I don't have the positive battery cable, which I do have that coming in. That attaches to the battery, obviously, and comes over. I think it hits this red wire right here to power everything up front. Yeah, there it is. I'm moving it right there. That runs up. I think it runs up and powers everything up front, just like everything else. That actually bolts onto the screw that holds the intake boot to the head, so I can't put that on there just yet. I've been doing some odds and ends things here and there. Finally got the rear diff oil cap open the other day, and it's still got oil in it. I just topped it off. It was pretty good. Like I said, the brakes seem to be working. Just had to have the cables working. Might require some adjustment. I may have to clean them up later. I don't know. Oh yeah. Both sides, the cable adjusting stuff, nuts and stuff here were, excuse me, I had to burp. All these are really rusted up pretty bad. One of them didn't want to move too easily. I pretty much had to spray everything with my acetone and ATF fluid concoction, or the other one is also the PV blaster. But I took these off on both sides. The other one's right there. Took those out, had them off. I threw these in the evapo rust. Cleaned them up really good. Then I put them to the wire wheel. Got them pretty cleaned up looking, so I can still reuse those. The only cable on this whole thing was working correctly was the throttle. Of course, there's nothing pulling it back right now. But I lubed it anyway just to make sure it was good. There's ignition. Yeah, brake throttle cable there. So I got that. Oil looks like it's okay for now. But I move so easily now. Like I said, I had to use my, where is that? No. I had to use my old dead blow there, a bunch of heat from the propane. And once I finally knocked it off there, I emery clothed it. I don't know where the emery cloth went. Let's see here. Shouldn't be too far. I had to use it a few times. There it is. Use that emery cloth. Clean that up, and then use it's kind of like a bore brush, rounded. Kind of looks like, kind of looks like a gun bore brush, but it was steel. And clean the heck out of that really good. And put grease on it, put it back together, and that sucker is nice and just absolutely free now. So that's good. Let's see. I heard Poopsie the chicken. Yeah, so I got the front brakes disconnected now, so when I get a chance to go ahead and pull it out, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But I was getting ready to hone the cylinder. So that ought to be pretty good. I'm hone the cylinder. I'll go ahead and I'll lap the valves again, because I can, even pushing down on them, I can kind of see a little bit of light cracking through it. So go ahead and try that. This is the hardware back out of the top of the head mount. Yeah, these. It holds it, secures the head to the frame. Yeah, that going. So it's kind of a scattered mess, but everything's pretty well here unless I'm getting it. I'll need a new padcock. This thing is a mess. Yeah, This did not want to turn at all, just locked up. And he or somebody had this Briggs & Stratton fuel cut off on the line. Using that to shut it off. Like, okie dokers. It's gummed up, and it looks and smells like it's got, even the tank's over there. Even the tank smelled like two-stroke mix. So I don't know what was going on there, but we're not going to have that. There's a spark plug. So there's a head bolt and the front side chain guide. But that's pretty much what's going on here right now. Next is going to be actual trying to repair stuff after I knock everything loose. So I'll get back to you when I get somewhere else. Later.